Let me tell you a story. A story about a house. Old, forgotten, creaking with memories no one wants to remember. It begins with a woman named Emily Hartman, a struggling novelist from Boston who thought a change of scenery might cure her writer's block. She had inherited her late grandmother's house in a quiet, rural town in Vermont. The locals called it Hartman Hollow, though no one had lived in it for over 20 years. The house stood alone on a hill, surrounded by withered trees and silence that went on for miles. Its windows were fogged with time, and its walls groaned as if exhaling after a long, dark sleep. Emily arrived with nothing but her suitcase, her typewriter, and the desperate hope that inspiration would finally come. At first, things were peaceful. The house was dusty but charming vintage wallpaper, a clawfoot tub, creaky wooden floors that moaned beneath her steps. Emily found old photo albums, faded letters, and trinkets that seemed to whisper stories of the past. But the attic, that was different. The entrance was hidden behind a bookshelf in the hallway. No stairs, just a narrow, retractable ladder. The first time she climbed it, a gust of cold air greeted her, sharp like a breath on the back of her neck. The attic was cluttered with old furniture, dolls missing eyes, and boxes sealed with rotting tape. There was a rocking chair in the far corner. It rocked on its own. Emily laughed it off. Drafts, old houses, she told herself. But that night, as she tried to sleep, she heard it. A soft creak. Then another. Then a whisper. Emily. She bolted upright. Silence. The next few days blurred. Emily tried to write, but every time she sat down, she felt watched. The attic door would be open, even when she remembered closing it. Things moved. The glass she left in the kitchen was suddenly in the hallway. Footsteps echoed above her when no one else was there. Then came the whispers. At first, faint. Unintelligible. But slowly, they formed words. Names. Dates. Warnings. Don't go back. He is still there. Under the floor. Emily started recording the whispers. She played them back, over and over, but every time she listened, the voices grew louder. Angrier. More desperate. She asked around the town. Most people avoided her questions. But one old man, Mr. Jennings, finally spoke. That house, he said, wasn't meant to be lived in again. Your grandmother, she wasn't the first to hear them. Emily dug deeper. She found hospital records, hidden journals, and one chilling newspaper clipping from 1952, child missing in Hartman Hollow, authorities find blood, no body. The boy's name was Thomas. Emily's great-uncle. He was 9. He vanished in that house. Some say he fell. Others whispered darker things: seances, sacrifices, a presence that fed on grief. Emily returned to the attic, determined to find answers. She pried up the floorboards near the rocking chair and found a small box wrapped in cloth. Inside were a child's bones, and beside them a journal written in a trembling child's hand. It was Thomas's. And the last entry read, "She said she would take care of me." But the voices lied. They said I'd be safe if I stayed quiet. I didn't stay quiet. Now I can't leave. That night, the house came alive. Whispers screamed. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The rocking chair spun violently. Emily ran, but every door led back to the attic. She was trapped in a loop of memories not her own. And then she saw him. A pale boy, standing in the corner. Eyes hollow, voice shaking. "You found me." She reached out but shadows pulled him back, dragging him beneath the floor. Emily screamed, trying to follow, but the attic caved in on itself. And just like that it stopped. Silence returned. Morning light crept through the broken roof. Weeks passed. The town said Emily left, packed up and disappeared. But sometimes, at night, if you walk near the hill you can hear it. A typewriter clacking. A creak in the attic. And a voice whispering softly, "Don't go back. Because Hartman Hollow isn't empty." It never was. Now it's just waiting for the next one to listen. 2 months later, a couple from Boston, Daniel and Alyssa Carter, purchased the old Hartman house at a bargain price. The listing said it was structurally damaged but full of vintage charm. They loved fixer-uppers. They saw potential. They never knew about Emily. Her name wasn't in any records. No police reports. No forwarding address. It was as if she vanished into thin air. The attic had been boarded shut by someone, nails driven in with unnatural force. Daniel laughed it off. Someone must be been scared of squirrels. They reopened it. The first few nights were fine, quiet, even peaceful. But then, Alyssa began hearing the click-clack of a typewriter echoing from the ceiling at exactly 3:03 a.m. They didn't own a typewriter. The whispers returned. This time, they didn't just call out names, they mimicked voices. Emily's voice. Thomas's laughter. Even Alyssa's own voice calling from upstairs while she was in the kitchen. One night, Daniel went missing. Alyssa found his phone buzzing in the attic, screen cracked, displaying a text from an unknown number. She's writing again. Alyssa became obsessed. She stopped sleeping. She pored through every document she could find, finally uncovering an unpublished manuscript titled Whispers in the Attic, Emily's last known work. But the pages were strange. They were still being typed. Each morning, new lines appeared, written in her own handwriting, though she never remembered writing them. Then came the final page. She thought she was telling the story. But the story was telling her. Suddenly, she understood, the house wasn't haunted by people. It was haunted by the story itself. It fed on imagination. On words. On writers. And every time someone tried to write inside it, it trapped them in a never-ending narrative repeating itself, mutating, growing stronger with every retelling. Back in the attic, the typewriter clacked on its own, ink smearing across pages that wrote themselves. Alyssa tried to leave, but the door sealed shut. On the final page, her name faded in slowly, letter by letter, Alyssa Carter Chapter 1 fade to black. And then, faint whisper, "Let me tell you a story." A teenage girl opens a horror book at the local library. The title, Whispers in the Attic. As she flips to the first page, a faint creaking echoes overhead. She smiles, unaware. This will make a great book report. Weeks after Alyssa disappeared, the Hartman house was listed again. Cheap. Charming. Fixer-upper. The ad didn't mention the whispers. Or the missing couple. Or the manuscripts that still clatter across the attic in the dead of night. The town moved on like it always does. But inside the house, beneath the floorboards, in the walls, behind the shadows, the story waits. It watches. It listens for footsteps on creaking wood. It listens for anyone who dares to say, "Let me tell you a story."